Dillian the Body Snatcher right here. It's a champ. Big up to Sporting Icon. Subscribe. Otherwise, I might pay you guys a visit.
Now, I'm not going to lie, I nearly spat out my morning coffee when I seen this quote from Deontay Wilder. And this, of course, comes from Michael Benson, the online editor for TalkSport. TalkSport, of course, is a huge platform here in the UK. Anyway, he put out a quote from Deontay Wilder, which reads as so. You have so many guys coming up with excuses to avoid fighters. The best not fighting the best. Sometimes I'm just like, I can't wait for the point in time where I do retire. I don't think I'm going to miss it. Once I retire, they're going to miss me. Deontay Wilder's statement. Now, it's fine for fighters to say that, and for the most part, they'll be correct. But this guy, of all the people in the heavyweight division who has turned down so many fights, avoided so many fights, come up with so many excuses, this guy has the sheer audacity, the gall, the cheek to say that so many fighters come up with excuses. Yeah, look in the mirror. He's got first-hand experience of it. So in some ways, he's probably the right person to talk about it, right? This is a guy whose resume is terrible. It's awful. 40-odd fights. What can you do? Pull out a Luis Ortiz. A Luis Ortiz who hasn't beaten anybody himself. This is the only guy you can pull off his resume. Everybody else, who are they? Who are they? We don't know who they are. His most famous win was Audley Harrison. Come on now. This is a guy who stepped up to fight Tyson Fury after 3 years out the ring, cherry-picked Tyson Fury, where Tyson Fury was still fat, out of shape, uncoordinated, after fighting 2 cab drivers and couldn't get the job done on him. This is a guy who turned down $100 million to fight Anthony Joshua for Undisputed. I don't care if you're a Wilder fan or if you're not a Wilder fan. $100 million is $100 million. This is a guy who said he don't care about money. He cares about legacy. His own words. But yet he's turning down $100 million for 2 fights, with the first fight being in the United States of America. He turned that down. Didn't even try to negotiate to try and get a bit more. Who knows if he would have got a bit more? Maybe he wouldn't have done. Maybe it was a take it or leave it offer. I don't know. But 100 million is 100 million, right? That's 50 million per fight. He hasn't made 50 million for all 2 of the Tyson Fury fights combined. He hasn't made 50 million yet. He might just about make it with a 3rd fight. But he could have done that with 1 fight with Anthony Joshua and then had a rematch, win, lose or draw, and get that money again. He ducked Anthony Joshua. I don't care what you all say. He ducked Anthony Joshua. This is a guy who reached out to Anthony Joshua after it was Joshua who initially sent through the offers and the contracts and said, well, we got 50 million in the bag for you. You got 24 hours to accept it. Okay, cool. What's in the contract? Well, we ain't going to tell you. Okay, well, can we have a meeting about it? Nope. Then what am I signing? Don't matter. This guy, Anthony Joshua, who was earning 35 to 40 million anyway, so it wasn't that much more. But still, a lot of money, right? But turned out that the money wasn't even there, was it? Frank Warren told you that, because the money was coming from BT Sport, a platform that Joshua could not fight on. He's turned down numerous offers from Anthony Joshua for Undisputed. He's turned down numerous offers from Dillian Whyte. He even went to the point of saying, well, if Dillian Whyte wants to fight me, he's got to go fight Luis Ortiz, which is illegal, by the way. It's illegal. You can't put a roadblock and say, you have to do this and jump through that hoop when nobody else does it. Wilder hasn't done that to Fury. Oh, Fury, if you go fight Luis Ortiz or go fight whoever, then you get to fight me. He didn't do that with Luis Ortiz. He didn't do that with Johan Duapa. He didn't do it with Arthur Spilker or Gerald Washington or Bermain Stavern. He didn't do that with anybody. But Dillian Whyte, no, he'll do that. And then Dillian Whyte said, okay, fine, I'll fight Luis Ortiz next. This is facts, by the way, okay? This is not me making it up. This is facts. Go onto the DAZN channel and you'll see Dillian actually show the messaging where Dillian Whyte reached out to Wilder and said, okay, cool. You want me to fight Luis Ortiz? I'll fight him and I'll knock him out. But you've got to sign something to say that you will definitely fight me next. You'll fight nobody else, but you fight me. Wilder refused. He ducked Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte has put in numerous offers, up to 7 million, that he offered Deontay Wilder. This is at a time, by the way, where Wilder's highest payday was 2.1 million with the first fight against Luis Ortiz. He ducked Dillian Whyte. This is a guy who waited for Vitali Klitschko to retire before he made an assault on the WBC belt. On 32 fights, by the way, 32 fights. He waited for Vitali Klitschko to retire. Then the WBC do what the WBC have done time and time again. They put up a vacant belt for a Don King fighter. Bermane Stiverne, that guy. The walking potato sack with dreadlocks, that guy. Then Wilder fights for the WBC belt. Do you think he goes after that and starts defending it against some of the best guys around? Did he fight a David Haye? Did he fight Tyson Fury when Tyson Fury first got the belts off Klitschko? Okay, that's a little bit of a shady area because obviously Fury had a rematch clause with Wladimir. Did he try and unify with Wladimir? No, he didn't. No, he didn't. His own manager, Shelley Finkel, said, well, Deontay Wilder, you know, he's only had 32 fights. Only had 32 fights. He's still a baby. He's still a prospect. We can't be expecting him to be jumping in there for a unification fight. This is Shelley Finkel, who still manages Wilder, by the way, and was managing Wladimir Klitschko. But yet Joshua took on Wladimir Klitschko in his 17th professional fight. No, sorry, 19th professional fight. But Wilder's still a baby, still a prospect, right? And I don't hear nobody saying, yeah, but his amateur career wasn't so extensive. What are you on about? He had 38 amateur fights. Joshua only had 46. But yet Joshua done it. What was Wilder's excuse? Oh, he's still a baby, still a prospect. That was his excuse as to why he never fought Wladimir Klitschko. So he ducked both the Klitschko brothers. He ducked Dillian Whyte. He ducked Anthony Joshua. He was trying to duck Luis Ortiz. He was trying to get the Bermane Stiverne rematch. If a lot of you remember, he was trying to do that. But then Showtime, Stephen Espinoza said, you go fight Bermane Stiverne, we're not going to show your fight. This is how sick to death even Showtime were of Wilder and his bum-picking opponents. You go fight Bermane Stiverne, we're not going to air it. They forced him to fight Luis Ortiz. They forced it. Then, of course, Luis Ortiz, he failed that PED VAR test because he put his high blood pressure medication on the form. Hey, it is what it is. So then he ended up fighting Bermane Stiverne anyway. Why? Because Showtime already had an agreement to show his next fight at that point. This is a guy who fought Arthur Spilker, a guy who got knocked out by Brian Jennings. It's a guy who fought Johan Duapa, gatekeeper / journeyman. This is a guy who fought Gerald Washington. Was he a college football player or something? Eric Molina, a school teacher. He even got wobbled by Eric Molina. In fact, when he was fighting Arthur Spilker, he was all over the place. He even punched a canvas on one occasion because he was so off balance. He was like a fighting weeble. This is a guy who fought Tyson Fury after Fury was 3 years out of the ring and ballooned so much in weight. That guy cherry-picked Tyson Fury. Fury comes back, he takes on 2 journeymen, goes over to Los Angeles, and Wilder still couldn't beat him. Couldn't beat that guy then. Couldn't do it. A fat, out of shape, uncoordinated Tyson Fury. Couldn't get the job done. Cherry pick, that went badly, badly wrong. Now, I can't fault him for fighting, say, Don at Brazil. That's WBC's fault for making him the mandatory. They should never have done it. But nobody was asking for a Luis Ortiz rematch. It's ridiculous. This guy is saying that other guys coming out of it with excuses. You were coming out of excuses. You should have fought Alexander Povetkin. There's this misconception out there that the reason why Povetkin and Wilder never fought when they're supposed to have done in Russia, as Povetkin was his mandatory, is because Povetkin failed a PED test and he got banned and all that kind of good stuff. No, there was an adverse finding in the A sample, which proved to be contaminated, which is why Povetkin ended up winning the case. That fight should have went ahead. The ban that was on Povetkin's resume was because he failed when he was supposed to fight Bermane Stiverne. That's the ban. It had nothing to do with Wilder. Wilder should have fought him. But he didn't want to do it. He jumped on the first aeroplane from Sheffield, because he came over to England in Sheffield to finish off his training camp before he flew over to Russia. Bottled it. His backside went. He used that as an excuse. Jumped on a plane, went all the way back to Alabama. Refused to fight him. And the WBC protected him. And you see a lot of people say, well, why is it that you criticise Wilder? This is one of many reasons. The list goes on. The WBC protection program of Wilder. His resume is awful. There's so many different fighters out there that he could have fought and should have fought, but didn't. He was in the era of the Klitschkos. He could have fought Fury a long time ago. He could have fought Joshua recently. He could have fought a Dillian Whyte recently. He could have and should have fought Alexander Povetkin when it was mandated. This is a guy who only had, in his 5-year reign as WBC champion, only had 2 mandatory defenses. 2! You're supposed to have one every year, but he had 2. You have got one of the worst resumes in the heavyweight division. Joshua's resume is far superior to yours. Dillian Whyte's resume is far superior to yours. Tyson Fury's resume is not far superior, but it's certainly superior, mainly because he's got Wladimir Klitschko on his resume, and the fact that he battered Wilder as well. But either way, it's much better than his. You've got a terrible resume. You will not go down in the history of folklore when it comes to people looking back on the heavyweight division of some of the greats. You will never be spoken about in the same breath as a Muhammad Ali, as a Mike Tyson, a Vander Holyfield, a Lennox Lewis, a Rocky Marciano, a Jack Johnson, or any of these people. You will not be mentioned in the same breath. You are just a flash in the pan. But that's down to your own self, because you didn't take the fights when you should have done. It's you that's been coming out of excuses. Look at the excuses as well as to why you lost against Tyson Fury. It's absolutely disgusting. It's one thing to come out with one excuse. I mean, it's bad enough that David Haye come out with his toe excuse as to why he lost to Wladimir Klitschko. Okay, that's his toe. All right, that's bad enough. But Wilder come up with a whole 101 excuses. The 10 Commandments, he rewrit them. Even throwing his own trainer under the bus, saying how he spiked his water. And you want to talk about excuses? You of all people? You of all people who's turned down career high generational wealth paydays. You want to talk about people and fighting other people. Why? Just because you've got in there with Tyson Fury. What? That makes amends for the other 40 odd fights, does it? Because he fought Tyson Fury. You were cherry picking Tyson Fury is what you've done. This guy's an absolute joke. Drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you on the next video.